Hey everyone, it's Jackie and Ray here, and unfortunately I have to start this video with a sad story. I was having issues with my storage on my phone. I thought upgrading my phone would be the right choice. In hindsight, I probably should have just upgraded my iCloud, but that's hearsay now. And so we went to the Apple store in Oregon because there's no sales tax, so I'm thinking, okay, great, getting a deal on this new phone, let's go and get it. Long story short, the Apple employee that was helping us didn't know what he was doing. He had consulted with someone who was higher up than him, but he ended up doing something that he thought was gonna protect us more without consulting the employee that knew more than him. And it essentially messed up my backup when I went to switch phones. And I had already deleted my previous phone's storage, and so basically it was gone. By the time we realized it was gone, it was too late. Unfortunately, we've lost a good amount of videos and pictures of our most recent trips. Funny enough, this leg of the trip that we are about to share with you guys, which is where we left off last time in Loman, that's the majority of what we're missing, plus a couple of other stuff that's going to be coming up that we'll share in the next video. But yeah, so that sucks. Funny enough, we recorded this video already and now we have to do it again. But I think that works in our favor because now we have a little bit more of our juices flowing of that time frame. So like I said, where we left off last time, it was actually a couple of weeks ago. We were headed to Loman, Idaho, and our initial plan was to hit some hot springs out there, which we did see some. What we saw wasn't really what we were looking for. We saw after the fact we probably could have hiked to something a little bit better, but we just decided to keep moving along on our trip. But on that day, I did want to talk about how it was a little bit of a stressful day for Ray because he was working on some business stuff and wasn't expecting to not have any signal. And when he needed signal, he didn't have any, so that was stressful. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so I was helping a friend of mine try and get a buyer for one of his properties, and I found a buyer. They were supposed to do a walkthrough on the property, but I didn't have any signal that day. So I had confirmed it the day before. That day, we're driving through the middle of nowhere, and it's time for that walkthrough. Long story short, I ended up finding a lodge because we had passed it on the way to the hot springs, and
it said Wi-Fi.
It said Wi-Fi, so I'm thinking like, oh, I need Wi-Fi. Maybe I can pay them or something to let me use the Wi-Fi so I can make calls. And lucky enough for me, nobody was there.
It was closed.
It was closed, and they had the Wi-Fi password posted on the door. So I was able to get done what I needed to get done. So that was definitely a lucky incident.
Yeah, I thought that was cool to experience. And so then we started heading towards Stanley. We didn't get very far. The way that we were going to Stanley, the road was closed due to the wildfires. So we had to go around, which the way that we could have gone to hit Stanley would have been super long. So we ended up just foregoing it altogether and took the scenic route to Missoula. So we made it to Missoula, Montana. I think it was like maybe Thursday evening or Wednesday night. And my first thing that I noticed once we crossed state lines into Montana was just how many casinos there were everywhere, which I thought was funny. Like, there was casinos literally at every gas station.
Yeah. We were getting gas one day at 10 in the morning, and there was not even a shade in between where the gas station was and where the casino was. And it was pitch black in there except for all the machines. Tons of people in there, 10 a.m. getting it in. So I guess there's a market for it.
Yeah, so that was funny. Missoula was nice. We had some good vibes staying out there. We stayed there for a couple of days. I was able to work out of a Chick-fil-A. That was probably the nicest Chick-fil-A we worked out of in terms of staff, like the guy working there.
Yeah, that guy was great. I forgot his name.
I think it was Jake. I want to say Jake.
You killed it at the State Farm Fund. At the Chick-fil-A in Missoula.
Yeah, super nice guy. And for those that don't know, Montana is known for their huckleberries. That's like a state food is huckleberry pie,
or
right?
something like that. Yeah,
So
they have huckleberries there.
yeah. So we're like, okay, our goal is to try some huckleberry pie. Our first day, we had done some work out of Chick-fil-A, and I was trying to look up where we could get a pie after. And a couple of different places had popped up. Some of them were closing, and it was just going to be too short of a notice. I was like, okay, let's try this one place. It ended up being the Good Food Store. I thought that was funny because it really was what it said it was.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Okay, so like the fruits and vegetables there, it's like a grocery store.
So they didn't have huckleberry pie there.
Oh yeah, we went through the whole store. Didn't have any huckleberry pie. They could have earlier that day. It looked like they made baked goods every day and then whatever sold out, so they could have had some earlier in the day. But it reminded me of a Wegmans where you have all the bulk items that you can buy things in bulk. And so we were trying some of the stuff that they had there. I think I had a cinnamon toast banana chip.
Oh, that was a banana. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It was plantain.
Oh, yeah. Same thing, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Don't say that to another Puerto Rican.
Oh, my gosh. The English version. Anyways, so Ray's favorite thing there, what was your highlight?
They had these figs there.
Turkish figs.
I'm a fan of figs. I never had a Turkish fig before. And I'm like, oh, let me try this. I never had this before. And that shit rocked my world. Like, I took a bite and it tasted like honey. And I'm like, I've never tasted anything like this. Is the best fig I've ever had in my life.
Was it one of the items that was like $20 a pound?
Probably, I believe it.
There were some things there that I was like,
That shit
man.
was expensive.
Yeah. Do you remember what was gross? There was something I tried that I spit out.
Yeah, it was a hemp. It was
granola
like a
bar.
Date. It was like date. I think is what held it together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it had like granola in it or something, but it wasn't crunchy.
It was weird. I didn't swallow it. I couldn't.
You took a bite and you're like, huh. But then you were like, this tastes like weed.
And it's not weed, so what's the point?
What's the point?
Anyways, so then, yeah, we kept looking for the pie, couldn't find any. So then we had to settle on getting some huckleberry ice cream, which I think I saw, I think it was called like Big Dipper. I think that's what it was called. Yeah. And
got pictures of that.
Yeah, that's why I knew what it was. It's funny because some of the photos, we lost pretty much everything because I'm the one that usually takes pictures. But sometimes Ray takes pictures, so it was funny to see what he still had on his phone.
Wasn't much.
He had the ice cream on
Had
there.
ice cream.
So I really liked the huckleberry ice cream. That was pretty good. But I know that it doesn't do the fruit justice, right?
Yeah.
Because in my example that I was talking about, Ray and I went to a kumquat festival earlier this year in Florida, and I had never heard of kumquats. I didn't believe that was the real name of them. But he takes me to this festival, and they have different kumquat things, like kumquat pies, actual
kumquat beers.
Yeah, kumquat ice cream.
Margaritas. Yeah.
The actual kumquats themselves are like, how'd you describe them? They're like little oranges.
It's weird because the peel is the sweet part.
Yeah.
The middle part is like
tangy.
Super sour and tangy and shit.
But they're little, like
they're tiny.
Cherry size, and you pop them in your mouth. But my whole point is that the kumquat ice cream, in comparison to the kumquat itself, is very different. It doesn't do the flavor justice. So I don't know if I can base my huckleberry situation off of the ice cream, but it was still good nonetheless. So that was our first night in Missoula. Second night, we had tried calling another place about the pies, and they said that they typically did them made to order. So we would have had a call to order it in, and they wouldn't have been able to make it for us until Monday, which wasn't going to work for our schedule. So we're like, okay, I'm sure we'll be able to find a pie somewhere else. We had plans for that weekend to meet up with some friends in the Kalispell area, which was cool. Our plans for the weekend were to go UTVing and boating. Saturday morning, it was an all-day event with the ATV stuff. So I did some research on a pie, and I found a town called Whitefish, Lula's Cafe. She was really highly recommended, said that their pies were in other stores, other restaurants as well. So they're like homemade, fresh pies. So I'm telling Ray, like, hey, we should wake up a little even earlier than when we were meeting everybody, go have some breakfast, and then, you know, we'll be able to try the pies. So that was interesting. I'll let you speak on that.
We roll up to Lula's in the morning. We get seated, and I ordered. So she comes up and she's like, oh, we have a special today. It's huckleberry cherry coffee cake with eggs and bacon. I'm like, oh shit, that sounds pretty good. I'll do that. Jackie got
like a hash brown
scramble with eggs. We also ordered key lime pie with huckleberry sauce. I'm a big fan of key lime pie.
And it had huckleberry sauce.
So I'm like, oh, great.
And then there was another.
Then there was huckleberry and mixed berry pie. And that's more of a traditional pie. And she's like, oh, do you want ice cream with that? And I'm like, that sounds delicious. Let's do it.
Which ended up being the right choice.
Yeah.
They didn't have just a plain huckleberry pie. So we had to try it with the mixed berries, which that pie, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And that was the hard part, was that it was hard to differentiate the huckleberry flavor from the other berries.
Yeah.
But the pie crust itself, you could tell that was homemade. Like, you could see the grandmas in the back making the pies.
Grandma was sweating in the back.
Early in the morning. Like, we were there as soon as it opened, and that place got packed when we were leaving. There was a wait. So that was interesting. The key lime pie wasn't that good.
No, it was not.
And then we saved a good amount of the coffee cake for later.
That hit later.
Yeah, that was really good. And then we met up with our friends. Shout out to Weston for being a badass UTV driver.
He killed that.
Because there was some things that I was like, man, you probably wouldn't have driven some of the things he did.
No.
So that was cool to be able to see what we had been seeing, but from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a really fun day that day. Went to a local brewery, had some good drinks, but the food there was really good.
Food was great.
It tasted fresh, and that was nice. I think that's something that stuck out to me in Montana, was I felt like everything we ate felt like nice ingredients.
Felt like real food.
Yeah. So that was cool. Then Sunday, we went on, Flathead Lake? I think so.
Yeah.
So we rented a boat. It was chilly that weekend, which kind of was unfortunate, but it wasn't terrible. We were still able to enjoy ourselves. We had a good time with the group. I don't know, did you have anything that stuck out to you on that?
On the boat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we saw a bald eagle.
Oh, yeah.
That thing was huge.
Yeah, it was cool to see it fly. It looked really nice.
Yeah.
That was that. From there, we did work the next day out of a Chick-fil-A and prepped our week. And that's when we ended up booking our last-minute cruise to Alaska. So that was crazy because it gave us a deadline. We booked it that Monday and we were sailing that Saturday. And we still had plans to go to Canada, so we were like, okay, it's crunch time. We know what we got to do. We did some work that Monday, and then Tuesday we started our day and we went to Glacier National Park.
Yeah.
Glacier was pretty cool. From where we were in Kalispell, we weren't too far away, maybe 30-ish minutes to get to the entrance, 45 maybe. Mm-hmm. And everybody talks about going to the Sun Road, so we're like, okay, we gotta hit this road, which was cool. It felt like it was the most pretty straightforward path of a national park that we've been to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
It was very scenic, or too much of it though.
I think the not disappointing part, but it's called Glacier National Park, and while yes, it was beautiful, I think we've seen better glaciers. And to be fair, Glacier Bay, I feel like, is an unfair advantage. Glacier Bay, which I didn't know prior to our Alaskan cruise, is a national park in Alaska. So after seeing that, it not washed out, but it just...
I don't know. I think at that point we had seen a lot of similar stuff.
Yeah.
Glacier National Park. For somebody that doesn't go to national parks, it's wow. But we had went to Yellowstone. We went to Grand Teton. Then those are the national parks we went to right before.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, Glacier National Park is beautiful. I'd go back.
Felt like a nice place to take your family.
Yeah, it's a nice family place.
The water.
And it was fairly spacious. I felt.
Yeah.
I don't have anything bad to say about it.
No, still a nice park.
I'd go back.
And I forgot we saw a waterfall there. I don't think I mentioned
Glacier?
that. Yeah.
Where?
We pulled off, and they had a little waterfall. They had more stuff there too that we didn't really explore as much as we could have.
Did they give us a map?
Yeah, when you don't get a map at a national park, it makes it hard to enjoy because you don't know what you're doing. At least we don't.
Yeah. How do you run out of maps at a national park?
Oh my gosh. So that was pretty much the gist of Montana. And from there, the next day we went to Banff, Canada, which that was an interesting trip. We were only an hour away from the border, which I don't think we realized how close to Canada we were. But we had a friend recommend to us to check out Banff. And so because we weren't too far away, we decided to add it to our trip. I don't know if you want to talk about the border story.
Yeah, so I don't know if any of you have crossed a border before, but the border people's job is to keep bad people out and keep bad stuff out. So they're vigilant, and in their vigilance, they come off as pretty abrasive. So we go to the border. It's a Canadian dude, and he's asking questions. Do you have any drugs in the vehicle? Is it just you two in the vehicle? And then he gets to, no, he first he asks about where we're going, right?
I think he asked how long after.
Okay. So
I don't know.
he asks the questions, then he's like, do you have any firearms in the vehicle? I tell him no, but for some reason, Jackie darts her eyes.
I did not dart.
Towards the door, like where the pocket is for the door. And
he didn't like
then
that.
what did the guy say to you?
He said, what are you looking at? And I just said, I'm looking at this bag over here, which I had a bag on by the door. And then he's like, that's a weird time to look in a different direction, which to be fair, yes. I just didn't know what to do I felt weird looking at him, and he's asking all these questions. He's not talking to me, he's talking to Ray. I'm just in the passenger seat, and I'm like, okay, I need to stop making eye contact with this guy.
But that's sketchy.
Yeah, it was not the right time to do that.
Jackie was acting mad sketchy, and she almost got a Swiss cheesed by a Canadian person.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and he just didn't like that we were only coming in for a day. He's like, where are you guys going? Oh, he said, how long do you, because they always ask you, how long are you going to be in Canada? And Ray's like, less than a day.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that.
And then he's like, so you're coming back tonight? And we're like, yeah. He's like, where are you going? We said Banff. He said, do you know how far away Banff is? We're like, yeah, 4 hours. So he thought we were crazy. But after that, I think he pretty much was like, all right, these dumb Americans, I'm letting them in.
That dumb American card is a card to play if you're going international.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you, it's a useful card to have.
Driving to Banff, driving in through Canada, it was super nice. There was no signal for a good chunk of the drive.
Yeah.
But we drove through a lot of nice things. The biggest takeaway for me was just the waters that we were seeing while we were driving. We're in Oregon right now, and I have not seen any waters that compare to what we saw in Canada. They were the most turquoise waters I've seen. I don't know, it was just
ever.
Yeah, I feel like ever. But yeah, the whole drive to Banff, it just made it worth it. Banff itself was nice. We ended up finding a brewery place again, and they had poutine there, which was I was like, okay, we're going to Canada, I want to get some poutine. If you don't know what poutine is, it's just some fries with gravy and cheese curds, Canadian staple. But it was delicious there, wherever we had it. Yeah. And that was where Ray...
got 2 of them.
Oh my God.
That's how good it was.
And then that's where Ray had his favorite beer.
Yeah, they had this beer that was... So I like fruity drinks, Shootly. They had this beer. I'm not a big beer person. They had this beer that was raspberry rhubarb. Sounds crazy. It was delicious. I could have drank a lot of those. That's all I have to say. It was delicious.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so he was enjoying himself there. We did some walking around, got to see the mountains and the scenery. It was really beautiful. We just ended up buying some souvenirs for our friends and then pretty much head back to... We ended up staying in Coeur d'Alene that night. What? Through there?
Sandcastles? Are those sandcastles that people made?
I don't think so. I think it's like
trees.
Pegs. I don't know what it was. But yeah, so we ended up staying in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho that night.
We drove 6 hours back from Banff to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
We got there at 11. I think it was like 12. It was
there late.
Yeah, it was midnight, the time zone that we left, but when we got to Coeur d'Alene, we had gone back an hour, so yeah, that was a long day. But it was fun. We ended up working, I think, out of a McDonald's. I don't think they had Chick-fil-A in Coeur d'Alene.
Some characters in that McDonald's.
Yeah. I don't remember. Who are you referring to?
There was an old lady who worked there who couldn't find our table, even though we were the only people there.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then there was a lady that was talking to herself.
But yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, there were some characters.
But from that point, I think it was like Thursday that we did that. We ended up driving to Spokane for the night and decided to do some work out of Spokane Friday. And then we knew we had to be in Seattle by that evening. So that was pretty much, we didn't do much in Spokane other than working. Oh, was that where there was a bunch of McDonald's?
Yeah, so we drove into Spokane, and where we were when we first crossed into Spokane, it was not the most family-friendly looking area. It was pretty rundown looking, and that's where the GPS took us for the McDonald's. We were like, there's no way. We checked the GPS and we're like, hey, if any place is gonna be in a good area, it's a Chick-fil-A.
There was
Lo
one
and behold,
Chick-fil-A.
there was one Chick-fil-A, and it was in a great area compared to that McDonald's.
Yeah, that was a nice Chick-fil-A. Because didn't we go to the Walmart first, and they had like underwears locked up?
The underwear was locked up in the Walmart.
You can tell a lot about a place by their local Walmart and what they have locked up. That's funny. But yeah, so we did that, made it to Seattle the next day, or that evening, and then pretty much got ready to hit the ship. We had to pick up some binoculars at Walmart. They
were locked up.
We went to the post office to drop off one of the postcards we got our friend, and pretty much, ooh, that looks nice. Ah. Welcome to Detroit. That's not where we are. But yeah, then that was an interesting situation, just that whole day of getting ready to get on the boat, but we did really good, I thought.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty smooth transaction. Had a good time.
We carried, well, that's up
for another video?
Yeah, that's for another video.
Yeah, I'll save that one for the next one. But are we missing anything?
No, I think so.
All right, cool. Yeah, that was pretty much majority of Montana. Luckily, the friend that we were hanging out with that weekend, I know she took some videos, so I got to reach out to Julie, see if she can send me some of the stuff that we did that weekend. And yeah, we had a good time. I liked Montana. I think I liked it more because of hanging out with Julie and them.
Yeah.
And the like activities that we were doing and stuff. But Canada was really nice. I think Canada was probably my biggest shock because we didn't even really talk about the waterfall. So when we came back from Banff, we decided to pull off randomly. That was totally Ray. I don't even know what made him decide to pull off.
Spidey senses were tingling.
And it was like a very easy walk to this beautiful waterfall. I can't even describe it to you. I'm really hoping I sent one of the videos to my mom at least.
I think you did.
But yeah, it was gorgeous. The rocks looked fake. It was weird too, like the weather when we first got out of the van. there was like this crazy wind surge and all these leaves were
We
flying.
got blasted by these pine needles or something.
Oh.
Them things were sharp, and we were picking them out of our hair and stuff for the next couple days.
No, it was not a couple days. Well, yeah, so that was my favorite. Like, that made everything worth it. I was like, I haven't seen anything that can compare. Yeah, Canada was really nice. That part of it, at least.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll get into the rest of it on the next one.